Hello family! Our movie begins with a boy named Matthew. He is an American who has traveled to Paris to study French in the year 1968. As featured in the movie, when riots erupted between the French government and students, some students were protesting one day. Then, for the first time, Matthew meets Isabelle. Isabelle says, "I've seen you around before. You wonder about being alone and never speaking to anyone." Then Matthew says, "I'm from America. I don't know anyone here, nor do I have any friends." Isabelle introduces Matthew to her brother, Theo. Isabelle and Theo are identical twins. Those three people are huge movie buffs. That is why these guys become pals. Meanwhile, the police come, so everyone starts fleeing from there on their way home. These three have more to say. Matthew was overjoyed because he had finally made two friends. Isabelle and Theo share their food with Matthew. Their closeness is strengthened as a result. Matthew wrote a letter to his mother after arriving at the hotel, telling her about Isabelle and Theo. The following morning, Theo invites him to his home for dinner. Matthew is taken aback when he sees their house. Matthew finally meets their mother. She is overjoyed to meet him. Then Isabelle goes to introduce him to her father. At the dining table, her father is a well-known French author. His father was delivering a speech about literature, poetry, and inspiration, but Matthew was distracted since he was toying with Isabelle's lighter. That's why Theo's father is upset with Matthew, but Matthew is as well. He remarks, "Have you ever noticed how well the tablecloth matches this lighter? Its shape complements the rest of the items in this area in a unique way." He apologizes to Isabelle's father and says, "I believe there is a similarity in everything in this world, which he discovered today. I had the same thought until today." Their father is really amazed by all of this. He is highly interested in Matthew. He says he wishes Theo was like this. Actually, Theo and their father are at odds. Theo has fully embraced politics. He wants to be free, so he supports rallies and riots. Their father is composed. He prefers quiet at the dinner table. The father and son are having a disagreement. The matter is handled by Theo's mother. Both are leaving the next morning for a few days of work. As a result, he leaves the check to Theo and Isabelle. They both invite Matthew to spend the night at their home. At midnight, Theo shows him his room. Matthew visits the restroom. Then, on his way back to the room, he notices Theo's room door open. Theo and Isabelle slept together there. They were both naked. It's unusual to see twins in this state. In the morning, he returns to his room and sleeps. Theo's mother and father leave there. Isabelle awakens Matthew. Matthew is embarrassed to see her because she is only in her underpants. Isabelle dupes him into instructing him to get out of the awful situation as soon as possible. Then, while he was cleaning his teeth, Isabelle began stroking his lips. His lips were bright red. That's why Isabelle adored him. She goes to apply lipstick to him. When Matthew notices this, he quickly departs, but Theo stops him, strips naked in front of everyone, and begins showering, which Matthew finds quite awkward. Theo says that our parents will not come for 1 month, so you're staying with us. Matthew claims you only met me 2 days ago. You don't even know who I am. According to Theo, I'm only asking you to remain with us so that we can get to know you properly. Then Matthew inquires of Isabelle, "Do you have any problems?" Isabelle claims, "This was my idea. From now on, Matthew will be living with them." He and Theo had a disagreement regarding Charlie Chaplin. Then Isabelle comes down and shows them how to act. Theo and Isabelle frequently play this game, in which they act out a scene from an old movie. He has to give the front row the title of that movie. If the person in front of him is unable to respond, he must dare. This movie scene was performed by Isabelle. That movie was quite ancient, but then Matthew mentions the title of the movie, and both of them are amazed, saying, "For so long, both of us have been waiting for a friend like you, with whom we have to dare." Actually, they both want to recreate a scene from an old movie in real life. It's a fantasy in which three friends race in an art gallery. All three will break their respective records. Matthew resists at first since he will be deported if he is caught, but subsequently accepts. Then all three raced, breaking the previous record. While driving home, it began to rain. They were all wet. Theo brings him to his room, hands him some clothing, and begins changing his dress in front of him. When he goes to get a drink, some images are discovered in his carton. He removes Isabelle's photograph and places it inside her underpants. Theo returns with a drink. Isabelle arrives at this point and begins playing the same game. She demonstrates this by performing a scene act. But if Theo can't remember the title of the movie, she'll have to take a chance. After seeing a snapshot, Isabelle urges him to masturbate in front of everyone. On that particular day, Theo works without complaint. On the other hand, Theo and Matthew are admitted to a ward. Matthew claims that he must also have elder sisters. Those guys never ask him to masturbate in their presence. Both have been seen by him, of two sleeping in the same bed. They were naked. What, after all, is going on between the two? Theo then says, "We're both twins. They were joined at the time of birth. We each have different bodies, but in our minds, we are one and cannot exist apart." Theo then demonstrates to them both by performing an act. However, neither of them knew the title of the movie, so Theo also challenges them to get intimate in front of Theo. Isabel agrees and begins stripping naked in front of both of them. However, Matthew refuses. When Isabel presses him, he agrees. Isabel's photo was discovered inside his panties. When they see this, they both fall out laughing. They are both intimate in front of Theo, and Theo begins to prepare. We can also observe that Isabel is still a virgin at this point. That's cruel. Theo and Isabel do nothing except sleep together. They don't do anything else. Matthew wonders if your parents ever found out about you and Theo. What would you do in that situation? Isabel says, "This is never going to happen, and if it happens by coincidence, I will kill myself." Isabel does not want her parents to know about her and Theo. Society will never accept seeing twins in this state, and they both adore their parents. As a result, they do not wish society to make fun of him. Matthew heads to the kitchen to get some food. Meanwhile, Theo arrives and takes a seat near Isabel. Then Matthew phones Theo because he has begun to see himself as a part of Isabel and Theo. But Theo clarifies that he and Isabel are one and the same. Nobody can stand in their way. Matthew is simply a good friend and will always be friends. That's all there is to it. After a few days, he has spent all of the money that his father had given him. Isabel fixes some dinner with what's left in the house, but it's very wasteful. This cannot be eaten by anyone. Theo goes to get something from the dustbin, which yields a banana. That one banana is shared and eaten by all three. These individuals perform minor tasks in order to cover the costs. These people were taking a bath together one day. Theo and Matthew then have a discussion. Americans are also at war in Vietnam, slaughtering civilians and children. They are setting fire to their fields. Theo is upset by all of this, so he blames all Americans. According to Matthew, our government forces us to go to war. If we do not go, we will be arrested. My entire group of pals has gone to war. I consider myself fortunate to have been able to flee America, and I was accepted into this university. Matthew is skeptical about Boylan's claims. He believes that the same issue can be peacefully protested in a systematic manner. Isabel comes to a halt and asks Matthew, "You say you adore both of us. Can you provide any proof? What proof do you require?" Matthew asks. The two then begin trimming Matthew's pubic hair together. Matthew becomes enraged. He no longer allows them to bite. He claims that both of them have sprung from the body. The mind is still that of a child. They both sleep and bathe together, exactly like children. This is a game for you both, but neither of you will ever be able to mature in this way. He inquires about Isabel. "Have you ever had a date with a boy?" She declines. She has never dated any other boy except Theo. Matthew also asks her out on a date. They both go out to dinner and watch a night show or a movie with dinner. When he returns home, he discovers that Theo is in his room with a girl. The two become intimate, and Isabel becomes upset when she hears his voice. She is envious and requests that Matthew leave her room. Theo and Matthew were arguing again the next day. Theo was delivering a speech about the revolution. "Matthew, you simply talk," he says. "You never go out and protest. Nothing beats talking about such important issues. You must take the road. Everyone must go out and participate in the revolution." When Isabel arrives and leads them to the drawing room, he recalls how he used to create similar tents and sleep inside them when he was younger. They are all sleeping inside this tent. Their parents return in the morning. Inside the tent, he grows fond of seeing all three of them naked. He doesn't take them up. He writes them a check and places it on the table. Isabel receives the check when she awakens. She realizes his mother and father have arrived, and she realizes she will never be able to face her parents again. She resolves to commit herself, then releases the gas and lies to him again. However, a revolution is taking place below. Matthew gets up after a stone falls out of it and the window smashes. Matthew inquires as to whose smell it is. Isabel claims it's gas. The three then join the revolution. He's also started hurling stones at the cops. Some of these people intended to throw bombs at police officers. Theo agrees with them. Matthew tries to stop him, but Theo ignores him. Isabel also joins him, but Matthew cannot participate in any of this, so he flees. On that day, the police used a stick charge against the crowd. This is how our movie ends. Leave as a comment on how you found this movie. See you in the next video. We hope that you enjoy your time and have a good day.